All right, everybody, come on in the room. Come on back in the room. I had to take another avenue to get on this Facebook Live broadcast because I am not sure about how to operate this new live software that they have. But I'm so delighted. I'm so delighted to be with you today, and you are in for a treat. I have not had a online on Facebook line conversation with my dear friend Iama Price in quite some time. But what I can tell you is that you are in for a treat. You are in for a treat. So we're just going to be catching up and talking about all the things that are going on with her. I am live both on Facebook Live and on YouTube. So if you have a YouTube channel, or you're on YouTube, then make sure to go and follow Dr. Cressler, your empowerment coach, on YouTube as well, so that you can catch some of my material there. But I am so glad that you've decided to join. And what we're going to do is we're going to add Ima to the live stream today. This is Ima Price. You are in for a treat. Hi there, Ima. It's so good to see you. We are talking to Ima Price, the producer of the Black Mother Monologue. She is an energy healer, a soul detox specialist, and she is my dear friend and sister. I love her dearly. She's got her wheels are moving so fast, I can't even keep up with her. She's moving fast and I'm slowing down and just trying to. And so the whole purpose for our conversation is to do some catching up today. Ima, how are you?
Oh, I'm so glad to be coming through this. I told you as we were on the phone, I just came through the channels I always do in the spirit realm. It's like this every day. It's fast transmutation. Hey, Dr. Cressler Room. I'm so glad we can share this moment. I tried to look back and see how long ago, how many months or how many years ago, but it was definitely before the beginning of the activation of this new time when everything shifted a year ago. We haven't had a moment where we've shared some of these spiritual activations online since before the beginning of this whole new world. So,
Mhm.
because I'm only online sporadically and seasonally, I know this is a moment that you and I need, regardless of who's watching, but anyone who's watching is going to benefit. It's going to flow like honey down from their crown to their root, and I'm grateful. So, thank you for
Yes.
having me here. I told you I
Yes.
had to show you the card that fell when we were trying to do all this. I said, I got to read it to your people. Can you see this?
I can read it. Read it for us.
It's Archangel Azrael, and the message is change and transition. And as
Mm.
you were attempting to find the correct channel so that we could connect and we could get this moment, the message says, "Thank you, angels, for leading me safely through this change." I wanted to know if you wanted to have me read the message as maybe a little invocation before we start, because I believe
Go for
everything's
it.
synchronistic.
Go for it.
Okay. I read a little bit of it and I want the rest of us to share it, but I think it's really applicable right now. It says, "You're going through some changes that you may not be enjoying, but please be assured that
Mm.
they're for your highest good.
Mm.
Change is a natural process, and we're constantly going through different levels of development and experience as we grow. So, as we allow ourselves to relax, remember that God and the angels and all that are with you are supporting you through these changes." And Azrael's name means he who helps God. He's the angel who guides us through the process of transition. His phoenix like energy helps us to rise from the ashes of our challenges to be reborn and positive again. And he has a close link with mediums and is the angel who lovingly guides us to the other side at the time of our passing. He has a strong, loving, and supportive energy. And I told you, Dr. Cresslin, you have so many loving energies around you that support you. And I love how this closed with, he's also the angel that guides us when it's time for us to ultimately transition out of
Mm.
this human experience. So
Mhm.
one of the
Mhm.
things I remind myself of every day, and I think as we think about freedom, when we accept death as a beautiful doorway, when we
Mhm.
stop running from the fact that this is all temporary, and that
Mhm.
every moment is really a message, no matter
Mhm.
how uncomfortable, we won't feel the need to have someone answer some of the questions that have been in our face and bombarded to us that only God can answer because God is sovereign. And so my message this year has been to allow as many people to attain their sovereignty as possible. And that's something that I've seen you've done. Because we weren't even in this reality the last time we were on live together. You didn't live where you live demographically. I didn't live where I live demographically.
Right.
The world was not what it is. It didn't take what it does now just to go to the store or to go
Right.
across the street or get on a
Right.
plane and move out the country. We were not in this reality.
So true. So true. So very true. I am so glad. And you know that card, you're talking about going through some things right now and how that angel's there because this has been a very difficult season in my life over the last couple of weeks. And I know that I am rising spiritually. I'm deepening and rising spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and this is a time that we really have to be careful about our thoughts, you know, about the things that we say, because the moment it comes to your mind and out of your mouth, it's going to be your reality. And one of the things that I have been saying is like, I want to focus on health. I want to be whole, mind, body, and soul. And I tell you, I have been challenged on every end in all three of those areas because I said I wanted to be whole. And so those things have to break down before they can be built up. And I talked to you a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't even know why I don't even know why it came out of my mouth, but I was telling you about the renovations we were going through in the house. And that I said, I feel like this is symbolic of what's going on the inside of us, is there's got to be a tearing down to be a building up. And little did I know that I would end up in a hospital for 4 days where my body was literally breaking down. I mean, just instantly. And so I feel like it was a forewarning, it was a message, and it is all for my good. So I am so grateful that that card came out because it was quite timely. It was quite timely. I love
Yes.
you so much. And I just love that we are always so in sync with one another.
We are, in shamanism, we call that a healing crisis. A healing
Yes.
crisis is the moment where our body tells a message that our spirit came to teach. And through that
Mm-hmm.
experience, our body knows it's going to make it out of that experience. Because the
Mm-hmm.
God who created us, especially when we lean in on the Holy Spirit and we lean in on God in those moments, we understand we're not
Mm-hmm.
our body. So it's like we
Absolutely.
can't even have the revelation you have now without those moments. And I love it
Right.
because, I told you years ago, Dr. Cressler, you being a beacon and a lighthouse is a huge responsibility in the spirit. So you're basically a living testimony, and your life
Thank
is a
you.
scroll. It's a
Thank you.
scroll.
Thank you. Thank you. I aim to be a light. I see everybody that's present. Thank you. I'm looking at you on my computer and looking at you on my phone. And so go ahead and like this video, invite some people in. This is a spiritual conversation. So if you're not in a spiritual mood and you don't need God and need your best life to shine forth, then go ahead and log off and invite somebody that does, because we're going to go a little deep today. And so, but go ahead and like the video, share it out, or invite some people in that are game for a powerful conversation today.
Can
But
I
thank you
say
so
can
much.
I say something else? Because the more candid I can be, the less chronic my conditions are. We're both trying to stay healed. People love to see how you're shining your bright light, but they don't understand the things that take in the spirit to go through that. And so I love the fact that you're willing to do the hard things. And to me, the hard thing is telling the truth about yourself, what your life is about, and how you're having your relationship with God change every day. And I appreciated you giving me the opportunity to sit on the last sessions you had with that group of women called
Hmm.
Source. Because right
Hmm.
now, we've been able to get by for years telling a story about God and ourselves that part
Hmm.
of both those stories may not have been all the way true, and it is
Hmm.
okay. But we're living in a time right now where we're not going to be able to be inauthentic about our own experiences, our own brokenness, or our own power and sovereignty. And you
Hmm.
have been someone in my life from the time of before I was married to during my marriage, after my divorce, through my postpartum, in my spiritual journey thereafter, have shined the light on me to always remind myself to be true to myself. And you've modeled that to me in a way that many people around you would love to do and love to be, but cannot. And because of that, you fight even that opposition to keep doing it. And I just want to honor that because
Thank
enough, I feel like especially Black women don't do that in each other. So then we're forced to be very pretentious. And I've never felt the need to have to do that around you. God has
you.
me on a
Mhm.
very peculiar path, and many people have fallen away, but you stuck behind me and by me because the Holy Spirit within you continues to shine bright, and I appreciate you for doing that. I just had
Don't
to
bring
share
me.
that.
Yeah, that was in my morning prayer this morning. So that's why I'm tearing up, is that
Oh,
I wanted the qualities that I am exemplifying today are compassion, honor, and spiritual grounded. And
mm,
I want to show compassion for others, and I want to show give honor where honor is due, but I also want to be honored when it's due. And that was in my morning prayer this morning.
ooh, God is so
So
fast.
thank you.
Holy
Thank you
Spirit
so
moves
much.
quick. Doesn't
Thank you
it?
so
Holy
much.
Spirit moves so quick. I'm telling you,
Eh,
that's the first thing I'm realizing in this new earth. That's the
yeah.
first thing is how fast Holy Spirit is moving. You just said it from the time it hits your mind, and if you have the courage to bring it out of your mouth, whether it's wanted or unwanted,
It's coming.
it's
It's
coming.
coming. And I just appreciate it, as I have helped so many people liberate themselves, um even when it meant that I was stuck, and so I'm not stuck anymore, and I'm learning to set healthy boundaries. I am learning to set healthy boundaries for myself and stop trying to serve people who don't want to be served. God has me here to serve a population of people who can appreciate the gift, who will show honor where honor is due, because I'm going to honor myself and I'm going to appreciate my own self. So anybody that comes within the close confines of my being can only do the same. And that's where I am right now. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to even to have this opportunity to put it into the airwaves and
Yes.
into the universe, because that's what it is going forward. No more political correctness. No more worried about what people think or say. I'm living my best life, and my best life is not about riches and cars and fine homes. My best life is living at one in one with this flesh and my higher self, and that's where I am right now. And I'm so delighted to be first having this conversation with you, a person that I know do that every single day.
Oh my God, isn't it worth all the tears? Isn't it worth all the days? Because we're dancing now. And this is what I'm talking about. I have spent so many years prior to the beginning of even my spiritual awakening, which I feel like I've been going through this process since 2008, since I first
Mhm,
met you and you first met me, almost now over 15 years ago. And now to be in a
mhm,
place where you can be in your right mind to reflect back on the goodness of God in a way where you can track your own spiritual progress with
mhm.
another are the only type of relationships I want in my life. I don't want
Right.
any other type of relationship. I don't care. Because you can
Mm-mm.
have all this and start a new business and oh, we rolling together. I don't care about that. Because if I'm
Right.
in that
Time is too
hour that we're
short.
already in, what's the what at that time?
Exactly. It's life is too short. It's too short. And I just don't have time. Everything I do has to count.
Mm,
And so if you don't mean me good, if you don't mean me well, if you don't love me, if you don't appreciate me, if you can't honor me the way I want to be honored, loved, and respected and appreciated, toodles. I don't, like you said, I don't care. I am every day one step further out of this earth and back to my Father.
come on. Come
And
on.
I ain't trying to come back.
Cheers to that.
Um,
This is my last round.
yeah, I don't want to leave any lessons on the table. I am returning to the Father for good. And so I just want to encourage all of you. I see everybody watching. I'm so glad to see that you're on. So I just want to encourage you to share, tag, whatever. This is a full spiritual conversation. And if you ain't about spirituality right now, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. If the last year and a half have not taught you anything, it should have taught everybody that you better have your spiritual life together. your spiritual life together. When they shut the doors of the church down, if you didn't know God for yourself, you suffered far more than anybody else. So this is all about building your powerhouse. It's about building your powerhouse, your one-on-one powerhouse with God. That's what this is about. It's about your spirituality and being in place, because we are seeing every day that nothing is guaranteed. Not even your life is not guaranteed. And so have it together and know who you really are. Know that you are a spiritual being and that this is a temporary home that's not going to last. So hold on to what's everlasting.
Hmm. And this is why we came and why we're here. And
Yeah.
we don't even have to tarry much longer. Because the reason that I wanted to come on here with you was because of that very reason right there. People want their power back. And you are the professor of power. You
Mm,
are the professor of power. True power is sovereignty. It is a divine authority that no man can take away. It is the
mm-hmm,
ability to speak the truth and know that it is so, and be
mm-hmm,
unafraid or unashamed of anyone's face. And
mm-hmm,
we have to do that now more than ever. And not
mm-hmm,
just in front of people, but alone in our own homes. If
mm-hmm.
we aren't aware of our own consciousness level, which we can do the consciousness quiz where we check on out. Let's do that. Can we all
Right.
agree to check our consciousness today? And I will assist you in doing that, Dr. K and I, as we close. We
Yes.
really want to first be able to define what our consciousness is. And
Mm-hmm,
we all have a different definition. To
mm-hmm,
me, consciousness is the sum total of everything that I'm aware of as a being, that I've learned in my experiences, the wisdom
mm-hmm,
that has come through my life. That's my
mm-hmm.
consciousness. Dr. K, what is your divine definition of consciousness?
Consciousness to me is it's an awareness of what is. It's an awareness sometimes of what has been and an awareness of what's to come.
Mm.
Because consciousness is being in sync with the conscious mind of God
Yes.
that knows all things at all times.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
higher, so it's levels, and you're going to talk about that.
Yes.
So the levels, the ultimate level of consciousness is having the mind of God operating through you at all times. That's
Yes.
my definition.
Yes, and see, most people call that a Christ consciousness. That is the
Mm-hmm.
Christ consciousness, which
Mm-hmm.
is why Yeshua, who came and demonstrated it so profoundly, we are
Mm-hmm.
able to give it a name. That is that Christ consciousness. But before you
Absolutely.
can get to that, we are all starting at a basic level we're programmed in, which I see now has come into play called victim consciousness. And
Yes.
you can be aware if you're in this by two things. One, you feel powerless. You feel powerless. Two, you feel like life is happening to you in a painful, undeserved way. If you feel like life is happening to you in a painful, undeserved way and you feel powerless, you're only experiencing a temporary victim consciousness, which is the ultimate level of separation between you and God. Because if you remember that God is sovereign and so are you, then you shift from this is happening to me to God knows all things, so nothing is a surprise. Therefore, something from this is going to benefit me in some way. So the base level is victim consciousness. When we get a little higher in our awareness, we go to manifestor consciousness, which is what I feel is being promoted now in a lot of spiritual circles, which is beautiful because it takes you out of the mentality that God is nowhere around. And instead, you realize that God is everywhere with you all the time. And that everything that you're doing and your choices work to co create with God. So then you get this infusion of power that comes with that. And I don't know about you, but Dr. Creston, I feel like that's the level of consciousness that most of us can get kind of comfortable in with God. What about you?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I agree with you on that. I was stuck for a long time right there.
Yeah. Cheers on that.
Yeah.
Because it got
Yeah.
fun.
Treating God like Santa Claus. Let me get my mind right so I can get the car. Let me get the house. Let me get my mind right so I can do this. I understand. I got greater knowledge. Let me do this. It's all about the getting.
Yes. I call it
Yeah.
the level of the secret. When people
Yes.
realize the secret, you've moved into that manifestor consciousness where now you realize you and God work together for your reality, because we all share a reality. That's the collective reality. But everyone has an individual reality they're creating every day. Mine isn't
Mhm.
yours, and yours isn't mine, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
because time is speeding up, many of us, especially those who've been called, like Dr. Cressler, to be a light and the light, we're moving into channel consciousness. And
Mhm.
this is the level that you begin to realize that life is happening through me as a vessel of information and knowledge that is not coming from my human mind, but from the God who created me and my higher self that is still in spiritual connection with that God without a body. And now I'm funneling that life, if you will,
Mhm.
through my experiences.
Mhm.
Um, this is the level that I believe God is calling all of God's children to be at right now. I think if you have a source connection, that we all need to be on the channel consciousness level. And that is
Mhm.
only because the deception is high, the messages are heavy, the fear is everywhere, it has become an actual matter. It's
Mhm.
manifested in form. So much so that if we aren't truly aware that we have an indescribable, irrevocable connection to God within ourselves, our own GPS, if we can
Mhm.
hear God for ourselves, it'll save our life. And it can save other people's life too. What are your thoughts, Dr. Cressler?
Absolutely. I feel the same way. We've got to make sure that we are connected at all times. To know, so the connection starts with knowing who you are. You know, our source is not somewhere, it's not something that's outside of us. It's with us, it's around us, it's on us, it's in us. And that's the way you channel, is by knowing that that it's like the umbilical cord. So when you were cut from the umbilical cord from your mother, there was still an umbilical cord that's always been there and that should always be there. And that is how that's the channel.
That's the channel.
That's the connection. So I agree wholeheartedly with you on that.
And for me, that's what has saved my life. You know,
Yeah.
being a channel isn't something that I do, it's who I am through my own ability to survive as a being. I hold on to the voice of God within me to survive. And
Mhm.
I believe we should
Mhm.
all make it just that crucial now. I
Mhm.
know we said we're going to create space for God in the morning, or we used to make a day for God when they opened the buildings, but they closed now. So cheers to your house being the building you're making time in.
Mhm.
But I feel like now it's almost to the point where, even because our emotional processing is so much, we're doing so much ancestral processing of emotions, and we're really having to go through a lot of transmutation of sometimes emotions that aren't even ours. We
Mhm.
got to stay rooted in that channel consciousness, just to stay in the observance of what's happening and not become it. Um,
Right.
that saves your heart and your mind in this
Right.
time. And then ultimately we ascend into Christ consciousness.
Mhm.
And for me, because they call it the second coming, I believe it's already here. There is a second coming of the Spirit of Christ, which is the oneness with God within all of
Mhm.
us, and the
Mhm.
understanding of life and death and the cycle of it. Uh, and so life is now happening through us. We're telling a beautiful story just through our everyday experiences. And it's been my goal, and it's the way that I stay free from the depression and anxiety that daily, the anxiety that tries to creep up on me, and the depression seasonally that tries to come. What keeps it back is the joy in knowing that we all working together to tell this story. It ain't even about what we thought it was. We've all come here for the same amount of trauma in different ways to transmute to get to this
Mhm.
beautiful now that's
Mhm.
still rising.
Mhm.
And so I find it a gift that we've been able to share some of these seasons together. And this moment
Absolutely.
today, too, has been worth all the technical difficulties.
It has. It has. And so there's always some opposition when we're going higher. Always.
Yeah.
Always a great sign that you're on the right path when the resistant path, rears its head. And it's all a part of the process too. Sometimes it's just to test our tenacity and our willingness, and how much we're willing to fight to for the right thing, and to say the right thing, and to speak truth, and to share a message that can help people. So I'm in it for the fight.
Oh yeah, we in this thing. All the opposition just takes us higher, and I love it how they even have a Bible verse about it. That whole the kingdom suffereth violence, but the violent take it by force. I'm in this
Force
warrior energy. Brother DMX has bought it out of all of us. We're so grateful. That kind of tenacity is needed in
it.
the now.
Yes.
It's a spiritual warfare. Just
Yeah.
because we are rising doesn't make the war stop. The war
Yeah.
is happening as we rise, and a lot because we are rising. So
Right.
understand, it's not a game, it is a war, but we win. So now it's fun. As long as we stay free and silent.
I love that you brought up DMX. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up every time it comes on on the radio. I just turn it up, and I just, because that is how the world will make you feel. And so while we're talking about consciousness and DMX, I'm amazed at how often we look at a person's struggle, and we define them solely by their struggle. He's on drugs. He's a rapper, and this and that. And unless you really listen to his lyrics and got to know the brother himself, then you will understand that there was spiritual meaning and real life meaning based on his own experiences on this earth that he was singing about. And it was his spiritual experience. But what we've got to really draw the line today is to stop judging people's spiritual experiences, because his spiritual experiences help so many people. And when I listened to a video where he said, all one can do is hope that their desires are aligned with the will of God, because God's will be done. That was my sermon for the week. And so we've got to stop looking at people's outer struggles and casting them off because they're having outer struggles, when what we need to understand spiritually is just what's happening in the natural. There is a mirror of something that's happening in the spiritual. And so many times we lose the opportunity to help somebody gain the spiritual understanding of their natural experiences by just focusing on their natural experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It's all spiritual. God is in everything. It's all spiritual, not just spiritual and natural. It's all spiritual.
Yes. It's
I didn't mean to go
all.
in like that, but
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Come in. Get in and stay in. That's why we got on this boat. That is exactly where you're meant to go in. Because we need to stay in the spirit. That's what it's
yes,
about. It's
yes,
all, you're right, it's all spiritual.
it is.
Everything is.
It
My
is.
sister.
I want to pause and say hey to some people on here. Hey, y'all, we see you. We're just so engrossed in this conversation, but I see you, Garfield, Mike, April. Hey there, Phyllis, Yolanda, Shonda. Hey there. Thank you for being on. Brenda, Nikki. Hey, so glad you're here. And all the names that I can't see. So, so glad you're here. It's all spiritual.
It's all spiritual. It's all, understand that, guys. We in this thing now. There's no turning back. And whenever anything happens, no matter how foolish it looks, remember, new levels, new devils. They don't say that for a joke. But understand that, and when you see them coming, just know, oh, okay, I see what this is. It's all spiritual.
It is. It really is. It really is. I'm so glad you went there with the DMX thing, because I just, and I'm guilty. I'm guilty, right? When somebody does something that makes me feel uncomfortable, it's not my reality, it's not my experience. I don't understand it. It's so different from me that it feels evil to me. Well, that evil may be in me. It may be a part of me that I'm not willing to face, because we're all one. We're all one. And on some level, we're all having the same experience, because we're in this world together. So we're in the spirit together.
Let me tell you something. I could have just thrown this selenite egg through here, but I picked this up and I want to show it to all of your viewers. I don't know if you can see this, but This says 25 times I forgive myself. And I wrote it 9/11/20. And I don't even, now at this point, I'm thinking, I don't even remember what I was forgiving myself for at that moment. But I remember I
Mm,
wrote down, I forgive myself, and it said, everything is working out for me. And as you were talking and you were saying why it's so hard for us to not judge one another as we have this spiritual experience together, and it's because at the end of the day, we're not daily checking our own hearts and forgiving
yes,
ourselves and
yes,
loving ourselves and accepting the love of God in us and
yes,
crying about what we need to cry about, get the right perspective and let it go so that everybody can be off the hook. Mama can be off the hook, daddy can be off the hook, our friends, our siblings, DMX, his issues. See, for me, my goal is to have everybody off the hook because
right,
I want to be off the hook with me. I want
right,
to feel good about me. And I
right,
know that if I'm feeling good about me and I feel God's love in me and I'm working on forgiving myself, it's hard to look at somebody and say anything. It really
right,
is. Because when
yes,
you're really doing that, you people say, what is the work? When you're doing the work, it's hard to judge others because God is already teaching you daily how not to judge self. So the universal law says that if I am loving God as myself, if I'm loving others as myself, then I'm loving God first. So I can't judge nobody if I'm loving myself.
right. Well, it says, judge not lest ye be judged. And so, what I found that to mean in my life is that the same way I judge people is the way I judge myself when I do something that I think I should not have done. And
Mm-hmm.
so the worst judgment that's going to come upon you is the judgment that you bring upon yourself, and it's all based upon how you judge others. So when we let other people off the hook, we let ourselves off the hook. When we show
Woo!
other people compassion, it's easier for us to show compassion to ourselves. It really should start the other way around, where we're having self-compassion so we don't even have to try to have self-compassion for somebody else. It to learn how to forgive ourselves so we don't even have to try to forgive anybody else. If it can start with us and start internally in this one-on-one relationship, then it would just automatically go out to other people. But the blessing is we get to practice with other people so that we can apply it to ourselves.
Ashe. And then if you're doing like DMX, which I believe and see we all saw, that's why it impacts so many people. Because he
Mm-hmm.
was staying in his own heart, in the truth of his own reality, with the
Mm-hmm.
God of his creation,
Mm-hmm.
focusing on that. So can we
Mm-hmm.
all focus on that? Cheers
Yeah.
to that. And
Yeah.
cheers to DMX. And I know I've got to go because I'm going to be on Tony Terrell Radio at 1 p.m. If you live in Huntsville, please listen to that. But I wanted to close and say, Dr. Cressler, thank you for having me, and not just here today, but having me in your circle as part of your sisterhood and
Mm-hmm.
as part of your experience and shamanically as your shaman for life. Because I
Yeah.
tell everybody I meet, once you're in my life, I'm your shaman because that's all I
Yeah.
can be for myself and that's all I'll ever be for you, which means
I
I'll
love
remind you
you.
that God is God, you are you, and ain't no mistakes. So
Well,
thank
but
you.
don't get off without telling us about what's going on with Black Mother Monologue
Oh,
and the
thank you.
voice
You know,
contest and all these things
y'all know
that you have going
y'all know I
on.
get so caught in the spirit. I just be all the way going from the fourth to the fifth out of here. First, I want to say that thank you for all of you who have purchased tickets to our promotional event. One of our cast members has fallen ill, so we have had to
Hmm.
postpone the virtual premiere of the Black Mother Monologues for Sunday. And we are still going to have our promotional event, which is the reason that I'm thanking everyone because we've had people buy tickets to Acapella in Alabama. And I just want to speak briefly on what this is for and about. In the beginning, which is why I love how all things work for the good of God and those who love God. In the beginning, this was just going to be a promotional event before we did our face-to-face premiere. And then once our cast member got ill and we weren't able to do it, this event became, which I know, which is meant to be a very important focus, which is giving a dreamer in Alabama an opportunity to manifest their gift. So we auditioned 5 vocalists, and they're going to be performing live on Hop In on Friday, tomorrow at 7 p.m. And the tickets are $10. And so I'll put the Eventbrite link up, and I really want to encourage anybody who has an opportunity to come or be there or just to donate to the cause. I got everybody's cash apps up. When you're talking about people being sovereign, it takes a lot of courage to get out there and to tell your story in a real way like DMX, and that's what these vocalists are doing. So it's a
I
virtual event.
apologize.
Oh
Yeah, I
no, go ahead.
apologize for that. UPS got in the way, but I
No,
hope
go
you all.
ahead.
They are fine. They left the package on the porch, so that's
It's a
fine.
virtual event and you can come from your living room. So it's
Yeah.
called Acapella in Alabama. It's Friday night at 7 p.m. You can get the tickets on Eventbrite, and it's hosted by myself, Hollywood Wesley, and Melody Cherie Holt from Huntsville, and it's going to be an amazing experience. So
And
thank
if
you
you
for
send me
getting
that
me.
link, or Ima, inbox me that link, I will add it to the the live post and
Okay,
make sure that it's in the live post. Okay.
perfect. I will. Thank you for having me, and
Thank
thank
you.
you for being.
Thank you for being. I love you so much.
Love you
Y'all, I'm
guys.
so glad we had a big crowd on here. Make sure that you love, like, share, invite somebody to watch this amazing spiritual conversation. I love y'all. Have a great day.